This man is the cook, maybe even the owner, maybe his family members. And this is his little restaurant. And it starts at about late morning and goes until about 7. There's where he works the noodles. They come out of those bins right there, and this white one right here. And the noodles base, the soup comes out of that one pot over there. There's where he's got a slab of beef, and over there he's got eggs that are seasoned apparently. And the menu is so simple that the way he knows what has been ordered is how they stack the bowls, and what bowls they stack together constitutes a table's order, like 2 or 3 people or whatever have ordered together. And the chef has given me 8 of these as a little bonus, which is nice. And this is hot, so I'm going to try that after I get down there. I'm going to try a little separate. So the cook and I had a little exchange. He wrote down, since 1948, this is when his father started this business. And when I wrote down that I'm 1940, I was born, I'm 73. He said, well, he was born in 1960, and he's 53. And I wrote 2 I's saying, no, you look 41. And he picked up on all that. And then he showed me this. And apparently that's either his son, or it was in a movie that he did, Let's Cook. I'm pretty sure that was his son that he said did that. No surprise, because the place has been probably packed all day long. The restaurant was begun by his dad in 1948. Now you can almost imagine that then, if we could transport ourselves back, we'd see an old, authentic. It's about 6:30 in the morning on my first full day, and there is J Hoppers. It's the only hostel I could get for the end of this Golden Week vacation period. Right down the street is Kay's hostel, which promises to be really outstanding, but it was fully. This, I think, is a drinking fountain. That little guy squirts water out of his mouth into the fountain. This is a woman's scarf. There was a man's hat earlier on. These are little things that tourists have dropped. And knowing Japan, it'll sit there for probably a week, so that it's like 2 or 3 days at least after this Golden Week period, to ensure that the person is not coming back to pick it up. Then, knowing the Japanese, they will recycle it in a good manner. Okay, my purpose this morning is the Kamisannomachi Traditional Building Preservation Area, which is this area right within the screen that's the golden color. And you'll notice in the lower right is that pretty red bridge. This area that we're going to visit is jammed with tourists during the day, particularly during this Golden Week. And that's why I wanted to get here early this morning without them, so that I could attempt to see some of the truly traditional buildings that may exist. Now, much of what we're going to see, if any, will be, what I hope to see, of course, is truly old buildings. I doubt that I am going to see them or recognize them if I do. I don't say that to be cynical or denigrating of the Japanese culture. Rather, this is a first world nation. It may be the first world nation. So it's unlikely that anything will not have been touched in 100 or 200 or 300 years. Pretty much analogous to New York City. This should be the outer skirts of it, that to the eastmost, or southmost, excuse me, since we're looking right at the sun. So we'll start by going do this just so you can see how we are passing different streets here. And then we'll come back and work each one of these back and forth in a big sinuous loop. And cleaning out the dead leaves and so forth. Notice how well dressed he is, incidentally. And that's a design, incidentally, that's used all over the world historically for pretty obvious reasons. It's practical. Here, a little stone used, probably, I don't know what it's used for, but it looks like a frog, vaguely, what's left of it. Family Mart is the traveler's lifesaver. So now we're down here where the two P's are, standing right at that intersection. I'm going to angle down to the left through the word museum, and we're just going to work back like that through those two blocks. This is a main street that crosses the bridge that's next downriver from the pretty red bridge. And you can imagine people are already getting up, although a few would be tucked into their beds. Now here's somebody screwed up things by putting in this big building. Water is very prevalent and used very liberally in this country because there's so much of it. It gets rain from the oceans all around it. And those rains in snow form in the mountains we saw last night, and in the mountains that are not snow-capped, keep a continuous flow of water coming into everything in Japan. Outside of a restaurant, no advertisement, just a very pretty imagery, which will strike a very definitive chord in the Japanese, perhaps psychologically inducing them into this restaurant in the belief that there's more of the same. We Westerners probably not that influenced by it, as they would have been in the old days, boarded up pretty much for the night. We'll come back through here later today on a quick, swift run of the same route. Even the garage here has some nice work in it. Again, quiet, as one would expect. Look at that, almost. In other parts of Japan, I've seen examples of the front of the old shops where a table would fold down or pivot down off the wall onto its own swinging legs for display. Quite likely the same thing would have been true here. Notice how things are left out at night. If that were in the United States, one or both of those items would be gone. The ball is symbolic of a sake vendor, both a manufacturer and a seller. And here a little bit of whimsy to punch that theme home. This man coming down the street is perhaps iconic of what I'm here for, to look for the old, the past. My guess is he's en route to a shrine or to his own shop to open it up. I've seen it before here. Even though there are similar shops down here, I'm going to turn to the left, work myself back towards the river, take the next street, and double back. This busy street, as you can already sense from the cars and just a look of it. I've seen big posts like this out of stone, literally out in the woods. So I'm assuming it's a historical allusion to some kind of a marker of a street or something like that. In the same direction, opposite direction we came, because here's a little bit more authentic looking street. It's the first time I've seen this board effect. Here we're getting a little sense of the intimacy that would have existed in the original building and business area. It's chilly out here, so I'm stuttering and my fingers are frozen. This would have been dirt, of course, or stone, maybe if they were lucky, or industrious particularly. That's a cute little thing. I wonder what the purpose of that is. That I should ask is curious. It's some kind of a shrine. There is a certain ambience here that's hopefully an allusion to the past. This is the Fuji Art Museum. The A-frame alluding to the fact they may get a fair amount. Each year Takayama hosts a parade that has floats, some of which are historically legendary and are still preserved. I believe this may be the museum for that. We'll get in closer to look at this. And then there are more modern ones. You can pay to go in and see those, and I probably will pay to go see one set of them. Just find this simple restraint and decoration to be very refreshing. The rock designed to be a minuscule version of something one could find up on the mountain somewhere. And I'm appalled that some lowlife has not damaged it as it would occur in the States, in my opinion. Looks like an antique dealer's shop or something that passes for antiques. Look like spear and arrow tips designed to be embedded in a shaft. Here's something, if it's authentic, and I don't know that it is, but it looks it, is something we haven't seen before, and that's a samurai's armor outfit. Original, deteriorated, authentic looking. Juxtapositioned with a beautiful face. And here various implements of who knows what. Are those hooks for scaling walls? I don't think so. It's a pretty small hook on the left. These might be forms of belts. You wonder what kind of items these shops would have held before there was this tourist industry. There are shopkeepers about, and more people than I wanted, but people just like myself. I get a kick as I walk about and say Ohio gozaimasu, good morning, to a Japanese person, and they will retort with good morning in English, as much as a response, but also a way of saying, and I too speak your language.